Alright, so this is gonna be part one of two of comic reviews. Part two is to be like two books. Maybe I'll add so yeah, add two more in. Like ones that are floppies, because usually I just do reviews on the collected editions. Sometimes I'll take a break, like one time it was all floppies, but it's either one or the other. But anyways, just so I can get videos out for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at the very least. That's why I did it the way I did it. Now Wednesday is gonna be two videos actually. I may just push it and make it do one Thursday. So one on Thursday is gonna be the books I'm reading for October, and some of them haven't even come in yet. They're from the library, and if they don't come in, hail. One of them. When I show the book off, I'll tell the whole story about TLDR. Is that it comes from a library that doesn't always arrive at the quickest time. Like usually, it's from the second catalog. If you've been keeping up with the lore of this YouTube channel, you'll know that there are two library catalogs. This is the one that's fast. This is the one I prefer. This is the one that's faster. This is the one that is like same day, like Amazon fast, but without Amazon, without the damages and all of the shit that Amazon is known for doing. I'm talking awkwardly, so let's just get into it. Basically, the one exception is one of the lending libraries of the better library catalog for interloans is. It just take a lot longer. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's unpredictable. But anyways, let's get into it. Yeah, I was speaking awkwardly, talking like I was a foreigner, and not basically, borderline speaking broken English. So let's get into it. Because honestly, my brain was just sinking in the fucking video. Don't need to do the intro. Daredevil. Born Again. So I read this in the digest-sized copy edition, the Marvel Premiere Collection edition. This is the digest-sized. Here it is compared to a trade. Not that much smaller, and actually, it's actually the same size as the Image Skybound Comet trades. So that's the dimensions of that. Not as so the DC compact $9.99 small ass books that you can barely read. Those are much smaller than this is. It's the DC compact editions. Like I already don't like digest sized copies of comics, with some exceptions. Again, the Image Comic Skybound Comet that is originally presented in the digest size. This was not. You can actually get this in gallery edition. But this was I got used to it. I got used to reading it in this size. Maybe it's because I'm not too foreign to the world of digest size comics, to reading graphic novels in digest size. So it wasn't a big hassle for me. I feel like reading the DC compact editions, those will probably be a bit of a hassle and a bit annoying reading those in that smaller size. It's like right in between a digest sized book and a manga. I believe mangas are still smaller. But anyways, so the reading experience wasn't really changed much as far as the dimensions were concerned. Yeah, sometimes I noticed it when I go from Absolute Watchmen to this, but for the most part, I didn't really notice it too much. And unlike Civil War, this was absolutely fine. The quote-unquote lighting in the comic was just as good as it was, if not technically better than it was with my copy of Born Again. Because I believe my copy is not this matte paper, it's the more glossy paper. I know how to speak that language now. I always did, but I think sometimes I just forgot the words. Although even then, I don't think I did. But anyways, this is the matte paper. I mean, actually, I didn't get what it was. I didn't know exactly what I was talking about, but now I do. But this is the matte paper. Get it, Matt Murdock? No, it's not. No pun intended. It's called matte paper. Which is the exact feel of the comics that were released back in 1986. So, presented in its original feel is what these digest-sized comics do. And I think that this Marvel Premiere Collection is best presented when you're reading an older comic. Newer comics, they have that, like, they use newer paper and more modern paper, so I think that's why some panels looked really dark in the Civil War copy that I was reading. And I have read Civil War so many times, so I think I am confident in saying that I'm definitely confident in saying, and I think I'm right in saying that it's exactly what it was. The panels were darker in the Digest Marvel Premiere edition of Civil War than was the original presentation of the original trade paperback version that I own. And I'm going to be reading Civil War again, like, let's say a few months from now, so then we can actually do a comparison. Hell, I might just check out, just so we can do an actual comparison, check out the library's copy of the Digest size again, so we can really do a comparison. I don't know, but it felt like some panels were kind of hard to see, and I was reading it in broad daylight too, so should not have had any hassle, shouldn't have had any trouble reading that. But anyways, now on to the actual review of the comic. I've read this before, like I had with Civil War, but this time in the new edition, and what a great comic to choose for Daredevil. Could not have gone any more right than picking Born Again. This is an absolutely phenomenal read. Even the bonus story in here, which is not connected to Born Again at all, but just so happened to have the same creative team, was also extremely solid. This is when comics were starting to become more mature, but not quite Vertigo, and this is a great example of when that was done 100% right, and where Frank Miller was at his absolute best. Must read if you haven't read it already, but you've read it already if you're into comics like I am. Even if you're like a few years into comics, I'm a 10 plus year veteran into comics. I feel like even if you've been reading comics for 1 or 2 years, you've read Born Again. But if you're somehow still skeptical about Born Again, hey, read it. I would honestly say it's worth paying the extra money for the Gallagher edition. I think it's only like $40, and the presentation's phenomenal in that book. But it is glossy paper, so if you want the original Matt Murdock paper, get the Digest size. If you don't mind the smaller size of reading, but I wouldn't suggest that. Transformers, worst bought ever, meet Ballpoint. This one was just okay. Definitely the worst Skybound comic I have read. Now, you had books like Scurry, which are amazing. You had books like... That's stupid. I hate that. So we're going to do a little tangent here, because I'm going to check my email instead of that noise you just heard. Okay, so sometimes I'll get an email, and like the other day I got one that was 3 hours late, and my phone notifies me. Because I have the mail app, the one right here, and also it glitches all the time since I have a new email. I already read it. Why isn't the iPhone, why isn't the iPad doing it? Justice, come on. Show it. Thank you. So that right there, that mail app right there, is what I use for mail. And for whatever reason, sometimes I get emails up to 3 hours late. And it's fine when it's like this time of night where I'm not going to bed anytime soon. But when I'm trying to go to sleep, especially on the work night, it's so annoying to hear that noise. It's so annoying, in fact, that I get like partial PTSD when I hear it. I just heard it, was like, oh my god, I hate that noise. Like, not PTSD, but like, I guess PTSD isn't the word to use with PTSD, but that would imply that like, it's more anger. No, because anger. Yeah, no, I said it right. But like, more angry PTSD than like freaking out PTSD. It's so annoying to hear that damn noise all the goddamn time. And it's the stupidest thing too. It's like, oh, Amazon. And the worst thing is I get ones like late at night, and it's like, Amazon, did you know that there are things on Amazon that you can buy? Not even like, oh, here's some comic sales that you might be interested in. Here's some recommendations to other comics you might enjoy. Here's from this author you follow. Here's his new work. No, it's you can get lawnmowers. You can get rugs. You can get Gatorades. You can get pizza. And it's like the most, like, I would never even buy this shit either. They did like one that was like, holiday season's coming up in 3 months. It's like, okay, thank you, I know that. Why did you email me that at 10 o'clock at night? Thankfully, it wasn't 2 hours later, but it's just so annoying. But anyways, getting back onto the topic at hand, Transformers, worst bot ever, meet Ballpoint. Like I said, we had great Skybound comic books like, sorry, back here. Notice, you had great ones like Scurry and Family Force 5. And then you had ones that were just okay, like Everyday Hero Machine Boy. And then you had ones that were in the middle, like Clementine. So, like, Everyday Hero Machine Boy, I give a 6 out of 10. Scurvy, I give a 10 out of 10. I give like a 9 out of 10, or 8 out of 10, 7 to an 8 out of 10 for Clementine. Start out with 7 out of 10, then go into 8 out of 10 territory. But then you have this one, and this is a 5 out of 10. It is kind of annoying. The character is really annoying. The humor is, because it's made for kids, they have to have every single juvenile humor that you can imagine is present here. And it's just annoying. And I think it talks down to kids at times. And it's just so bland, too. He's a screw up. Oh, he messes up and the Decepticons kick him out. What's he gonna do? Like, I predicted the ending a mile away. And while that's understandable for me, a 25-year-old, reading a book intended for 8-year-olds, I feel like even 8-year-olds are gonna predict what... My nephew, who is 9 years old, I'm gonna give him this, and he's probably gonna predict the ending a mile away. Now, all that being said, I still think this is good for kids in general. I feel like sometimes it talks out to kids. Like, the humor in there is just very much like, oh, what do kids like these days? Oh, they really like the toilet humor. Let's put all that in there. And just at times it really felt like it was just like, oh, we know the bottom of the barrel jokes to tell in this comic, so let's tell those. But even then, it's few and far between. And it's a nice story of, you know, not hanging with the bad crowd, not hanging with people that don't have your best interest in mind. And there is actually stuff at the back that is great for classrooms, which is... Oh, and it tells you how to draw Ballpoint in the back. I found that to be pretty neat. But then you also have classroom discussion reading guides, which I think that is really cool because you can legitimately have a lesson on a comic book, which I think is great to do. And I love that all these Skybound comic books do that. On back of Scurry, there was something like that. Family Force 5 didn't have one. But I think that's because it's made for older audiences. So by then, it's just kind of like, well, I know how to read a book. You know, it's kind of like I know what I like for reading material, and I can still do Family Force 5. And it's also not just that. It's also like the teachers are probably like, well, I know what to do for a lesson. You know, and then like the elementary school, it's more like... I feel like the elementary school teachers are less inclined to read this than a middle school teacher is to read Family Force 5. But all that being said, like, push that to the side. But point is, this was a 5 out of 10, I would say. Even for kids, I'd say it only gets up to a 7 out of 10. So a modest recommendation, a mild recommendation. Now for my most unpopular opinion, I did not like Silver Surfer, the Dan Slott and Michael Allred run. I thought this was kind of annoying. I like how it's like a Silver Age comic at times. I like how it had that like vintage but modern feel to it with the artwork. But the story is pretty good, and I like some of the characters. It's just a dialogue. Like there's a kid character. He asks both Silver Surfer and the Hulk how they pee, because Dan Slott doesn't know how to write for kid characters, and Michael Allred couldn't be bothered because he was on other projects probably. That's why there's 2 authors here. I just found this one to be kind of juvenile. Not as juvenile as was Transformers, but just juvenile. Like, they don't have... It's just that kind of humor. It's borderline Ryan North Squirrel Girl humor, and hopefully you know what that means. So I'm going to move on. So all in all, I give this one a 6 out of 10. I'm not going to check out volume 2 and 3. I believe there's 3 volumes total, because the omnibus is rather short. They don't even have volumes 2 and 3, I don't think. So no sleep lost over that now. Iron Man and Thor. God Complex. Yeah, this is anything but complex. This is your basic bitch comic book. It keeps your interest. If you have a family road trip and you want to be mildly interested, I guess this isn't the worst comic to choose. There are billions upon billions more comics that will fit the bill. If you want something quick, like something that you can read in an hour and you feel satisfied, a billion more comics to read that are much better than this. Hell, even some that are actually also 4-issue miniseries. This one was just kind of boring and extremely forgettable. Like, one of those comics that the second after I read each issue, I forgot what happened in it, basically, is what happened. But completely bland and forgettable, 5 out of 10. Nah, 4 out of 10, honestly. Catwoman Copycats, absolutely phenomenal run by Joelle Jones, who I feel like can do no wrong. Everything that I want in comics is in here, and none of the bad. 9 out of 10. And last but not least is Animal Pound, a Tom King comic that does not feel like a Tom King comic for once. Most of his tropes are not present in Animal Pound. You could argue towards the end some are, but that's a bit of a stretch. Very much a very big stretch there. Now, the upsides here is first of all, the dialogue. It really is trying to be like a modern classic. The books you read in school, that language they talk, they say, the dialogue and narration isn't like, cause it's dated, so it has that like, they use bigger words here and there. Like, you can use this word, but use this word instead. It has like, that formal way of the narrative, and even the dialogue is very formal. No slang whatsoever, kind of thing. I hope you guys know what I mean when I'm saying that. But basically, it really does feel like a classic book that you'd read in high school or middle school brought to the graphic novel format. Really, the only change being there's pictures here. However, that also leads to one of my biggest drawbacks from this comic, is that it often feels dry. You know that Tom King doesn't normally write like this, write dialogue like this, write narration like this, so it comes off very dry at times. He's trying to be somewhat different, and you can tell that this is probably one of his first times really committing to the bit. But it's only sometimes, and towards the end it gets really good, really interesting, and I started to notice the page count less and less as I went on. But more like, not like each issue, more like issues 4 and 5 felt rather quick compared to the first 3 issues. But all in all, I enjoyed this one. I actually enjoyed Tom King comic. I don't have any major downsides to it. Like, most of the downsides are just small things that a reread will fix. So I'll give this a 7 out of 10. And that, as they say, is that. It's ran for a little bit longer because of my tangent. I'm just going to end this video right now.